Regional elections are billed for the 6th of December 2020, according to a decree that was issued yesterday by the President of the Republic, His Excellency, President Paul Biya, convening electorates for the regional elections that are supposed to take place this year in Cameroon. That same yesterday, we have information that Professor Maurice Kamto has launched his Biya Must Go campaign across the nation, calling on Cameroonians to take to the streets on a date that is the 22nd of September to oust the sitting president, President Paul Biya, for daring to call for regional elections without solving the ongoing crisis rocking the northwest and southwest region, and seeing into it that the electoral code is fixed according to the demands of political actors in Cameroon. We are going to be discussing on this topic this evening with our panelists who are already seated in the house. We are welcoming Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. He is the National President of the Reforms Party. Good evening, Senior Barrister, and welcome.
Good evening, Leo. Good evening, televiewers. Good evening, fellow panelists, Mr. Kedia. It's a pleasure being with you again this evening. I hope we are going to have a nice time. And the topic of the day, it looks like it's going to raise eyebrows in certain quarters because of the type of rhetoric into which they've been going. But our duty here is to call a spade. Call a spade a spade.
Okay. We are also in the company of Tamfu Jones. He is the Secretary General of Modekna Party, a party that has endorsed the move by Professor Maurice Kamto for elections not to hold in Cameroon. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Leonard. Good evening, televiewers, and good evening, panelists. It's a pleasure to be here today with the Senior Barrister. We in Modena, it's not the first time we are talking about elections boycott. Because I remember, ever since Anglophone crisis started, I, John Stanford, never casted a vote. In this country, I have boycotted all the elections that have taken place since this crisis in the north and the southwest began in 2016. So, if elections are being held now, and Modena says that people should not go in for, I think it is no news, because it has always been our cry that Mr. Biya has overstayed in power and should leave. So it's not because we are in coalition with Maurice Kamto that we think that elections should not hold because Maurice Kamto said so. No, it's an agreement. Because before now, if up to date, we haven't had a councillor yet, it's because during the time where we had the opportunity to do that, we said no, we cannot work on the blood of our brothers and sisters in the north and the south to go in for elections, get seats in the councils and in the parliament, and people are dying. There's no need for that. Let's pacify the country, and then after that, free and fair elections can take place with everybody participating and not some people hearing rumors from the bushes.
Okay. We also are in the company of Kedia Robert Malanfe, who is a militant of the CPDM party. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here once more. Greetings to my co-panelists, and greetings to all Cameroonians out there looking at us or viewing us as we share our opinions on regards to nation building. Talking about, I got my co-panelists talking about boycott. Sorry, with regards to this election, we have parties that are not eligible to this election. They don't have councillors that will vote. So when I get them talking about a boycott, I ask a lot of questions. I believe boycott, for instance, a party like the SDF that have given, because normally we want to make this very clear, the SDF have not said they will not participate for the election. They have given conditions in which they want things to be worked upon, and we've seen the SDF doing that time and again. Okay, so if we are talking about boycott, it's just at the level of SDF that they may, but the other party, they should not talk about boycott because they are not even part of the the elections.
Okay, we are also going to be discussing all the way from Belgium with Umaru Rufau. He is a militant of the Social Democratic Front. Good evening, Mr. Umaru, and welcome. How are you today? Hello, Mr. Umaru. You need to centralize your gadget. Okay, seemingly something is not working out with Mr. Umaru. Eli, can you communicate with him via text, indicating how he should operate his gadget so that we can be able to discuss with him in the course of the program. But I'll start with you, senior barrister. This ultimatum that was given by Professor Maurice Kamto for elections not to hold, promising to take to the streets through a popular uprising to oust President Biya if ever he were to call elections, something that was done yesterday. Did Professor Maurice Kamto actually think that the president was not going to call for these elections just because he said that he was going to oust him?
Yeah, before I answer that question, I think I should correct something which my good friend Kedia said earlier. Talking about boycott, he wasn't correct to say that people who don't have councillors cannot participate in elections. The councillors are the voters. The voters can elect anybody, so any political party can table candidates, and it would interest you to know that my party will be running. Yeah, we shall be running. I will tell you where we'll be running, because we have the people who can vote. So MRC has that possibility of running if they are sure that the councillors who are they can vote for their people. Now, if MRC is not going, they say they are boycotting. Well, let them boycott. That is their piece of cake. Did he really think that President Biya will not organize the elections? I don't think so. He knows very well that it's just like like the dog that barks and the train will keep moving. It will change nothing. He knows very well, but I think he was just trying to stay relevant because he had missed the coach, and if he stays quiet, very soon he will go into oblivion. So I think that he knows what he was doing. He knows that it is very risky for him to dare carry out or enforce his threat, because Cameroon is not Mali, sir. Look at Mali. Look at their military. It is no match to Cameroon's military. Cameroon has a military that is well trained, well organized. We have one of the best police forces in Africa. Now look, I think people should be serious. Don't send people's children to the streets to go and meet their demise when your own children are safe somewhere else. My brother knows very well that, like my friend Celestine Jamin was saying, if he has guarantees that police will not open fire on him, well, let him be the first to go down with his family. Then others will join him. But we don't have such guarantees. And people like us who were the first, you see, I want maybe these MRC people, they keep forgetting. I am the person who started organizing political rallies of the opposition in this country and public manifestations. I am the one. I have marched and swallowed enough tear gas, and I think that with the type of police, gendarme, military we have here in this country, you cannot change this country from the street. Forget it. You cannot. The forces are too strong, and they don't have a heart to. My brothers, if you think that a policeman or a soldier in this country will see you in the street and say, I will not shoot, you are wasting your time, they will shoot. So if you are going out to the street, prepare your coffin, because get ready to die. It is at your own risk. Well, everybody should know that you are going down there at your own risk, because those guys, when you see most of them, what do you see on their faces? Before Corona even came, they were all wearing masks because they don't want to be identified. They don't want to be seen as being identified by their victims. So they put masks on their faces to look anonymous. please, these are not people with whom we have to play.
Okay.
We should be serious here. We should be serious. If we want to do politics, let's do politics. If we want to go into gangsterism, then we should choose the part of gangsterism, but we should not mix the two.
Okay, we should not mix the two. Thankful Jones, what would be the implication for this call by President Paul Biya for electorates to take to the polls on the 6th of December 2020? What is going to change in Cameroon's political life?
Nothing is going to change, Mr. Leo, because we cannot continue seeing the same thing year in, year out, and we expect different results. The same thing will bring the same result. So if the presidential elections was organized and some political parties went in to participate, because I believe then we were calling on political parties to boycott the presidential elections, which some refused. Some who are even making noise today refused to boycott that same political, presidential elections. They went in for. When they failed, they started that they failed because of the Anglophone crisis. And up till date, as we speak, some are still saying that they are boycotting these state elections because of the Anglophone crisis, which is not true. Because the Anglophone crisis came. If anybody had the Anglophones at heart, when grandmothers, grandparents, and the youth were marching on the street with the peace plans, they would have joined them to say that if the Anglophones are angry, it is because of poor management of the power in Yaoundé. Now, let's chase the common enemy away, who is Mr. Biya, take power, and then bring back peace in the Anglophone regions. And so the Anglophone problem, at that stage when it was not yet bloody, they were pouring insults on the Anglophone community. And now the Anglophone community has now been sown with blood, and the same people think that they can call on people to go on the street. Boycotting the elections, yes. They go to the street, no. It is a useless risk to take at this point.
But that's not the position of your party. Your party is endorsing that move.
The party can endorse the move. I am the member of that party. And in a party, it's not a decision of, it's not a one-man show. Barrister can attest to that. It's not a one-man show. A group of people sit and decide on what is going to happen. So as an individual, you have your own interests and what you want. So if people agree on everything, must it mean that they just have to agree? No! I have what I want and I know what I'm looking for. So I don't think that going to the street is a good idea, given that this country is on some sort of a balance as we speak. The country is so fragile, and the regime in Yaoundé will not bear it to see into it that an individual tries to destabilize this country the more, because they are trying to solve the Anglophone problem. It is somehow almost impossible, and you want to create another problem again in the south. I think if somebody is going to the street, the barrister said, the person should be very careful, because when we talk about going to the street, there are elements that should be put in place, that measures that should be put in place. If you are going to the street in Africa, because when you look critically, you realize that in other African countries, like the recent Algeria, if you don't have the tacit support or the active support of the military, forget it. And in Cameroon, I don't know the negotiation of Kamto, because in CRM party they said that he's a strategist. So I believe maybe he has strategized to lure maybe the military into his move. Apart from that, I think it's a suicide mission.
It's a suicide mission. Robert, how serious could the CRM be with such threats? They say they actually are not only going to stop the elections, but they are going to oust President Paul Biya. That's the mission.
Before I answer your question, I want to thank the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, who took his time to interpret the law and make the people to understand the sanction that beholds them. And to those that are sympathizing with such a political party, the vice president of that party is in prison. Professor Maurice Kamto says, I will not come out till everybody is being freed. Unfortunately, he abandoned his own vice president. So you who is going out, I believe that you've heard what the Minister of Territorial Administration said. Life imprisonment. If he can abandon his vice president, then I think he will not even give you water to drink. To go further to talk about Maurice Kamto and his decision, the actual truth is there. The Cameroonians know him very well. There's nothing that he will tell us that we don't know. We are seeing all these crises. We know that it's because of certain contracts that Cameroonians don't want it to be renewed. And this man boycotted an election and went to Europe and was doing lobbying. He has not told Cameroonians the type of lobbying he was doing. Yeah, but Cameroonians are intellectuals and they know.
Is that part of the question that you are answering? I ask you something else, you are saying something else. I ask to ask you to tell us whether you think Professor Maurice Kamto was so serious, whether he has what it takes to take this campaign to a definite end.
I understand you very well. You see, I'm of the CPDM, and I don't really want to talk about a party that is indisciplined like that of Maurice Kamto, because the law says it is very clear. To demonstrate is legal, but to demonstrate to remove an elected president democratically, or an attempt to cause civil unrest, or an attempt to abuse the constitution that has called for effective decentralization, and the last institution of the decentralization is about to be put in place, and you want to disturb it, be aware. He is a lawyer. He understands what I'm talking about. Okay. And the law is there. If he thinks he cannot even do it, and Cameroonians will not go. Okay. This is not the first time he is calling this, and Cameroonians have not gone. It's not the first time, it's not the second time. And this time Cameroonians will not go. And this time will be a proof to members of that party and him that they are a total failure when nobody will come out in on the 22nd.
Okay, let's take another trial to reach out to Mr. Umaru, who is in Belgium. Mr. Umaru, are you there? We can't get your sound. Mr. Umaru,
yes,
are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yes, I hope you can.
Yes, we can get you now. What is your take on this position for elections not to hold? Yesterday we saw the launching of the Biya Must Go campaign by the CRM party.
The Social Democratic Front, the SDF, is an independent organization. So we have based on our own conclusion. We put on our chairman has said that we will not go for election. So in this regard, what other parties are doing is their business. But nevertheless, we are in the same context, we are in the same society, and we are fighting against the same system. I just hear one of the panelists making threats, speaking like Atangaji spoke, speaking about democratic elected. No, sir. Paul Biya was not democratically elected, and the system is rigged. The councillor in the Northwest region has been elected by 1% of the population. So you cannot call that democratic. You cannot call that democratic. So as far as we are concerned, the Social Democratic Front, we have made our decision that we will not participate. We will collaborate, we will work together with other groups, but based on our own choices, on our own analysis, and based on our own objective.
Now, you made that decision. We discussed on it yesterday. And what concretely are you expecting the president to do before you participate in the elections?
There are three conditions that has been put in the press release that we have published. The first one is to solve the issue in the south, in the northern region. We participated with good faith. We participated constructively to the Grand Dialogue National, as everyone can remember, because we wanted to give this a chance.
The internet connection is not too good. Okay.
conclusion that has been brought is so days.
Okay, now we lost Mr. Umaru from Belgium there.
Federal system. Yes.
Okay, you are going on. Just go on with the proposals that you are making. The conditions that you want.
Yes. So the third. Yes. So we said 3 points. The third one, and it is very important because everyone can remember that since 1990s, the STF is fighting for federalism. And we have won the regime. We have made proposal even in the National Assembly. Even our chairman, by talking with Paul, we had made proposal saying that let's move to the real federal system. So what we are asking now is to take steps to think about it.
Oops, the connection. Okay, the connection is not the best today. Now, what force does the CRM? What force can they boast of to be able to want to oust the president, a sitting president?
Mr. Leo, that is just wishful thinking. If Mr. Kamto thinks that by bringing out a mammoth crowd of 10,000 people he can oust the president, is just dreaming. I want to remind these people that Cameroon has one of the best or the biggest and well-equipped presidencies in the world. You can just cast a glance around and see which presidency beats Cameroon's presidency. We even have an anti-nuclear villa in the presidency. How can this man think he can oust the president if the man simply enters his anti-nuclear villa and sees him quiet there? How will he go? How will MRC people go there? Let us be very, very pragmatic, practical here.
Okay.
When you reach the Congress Center in Yaoundé, who of these MRC militants can dare pass that small roundabout after the Congress Center? With all those armored car stationed there, with all those military people, I mean, they're just dreamers. They should forget the thing. They want to stay relevant because technically it is not possible. If they say they want to make noise in the streets, yes, they can make noise. But you say they're going to oust Mr. Biya. No, that's a far-fetched dream. Far-fetched, it is not possible. They don't have access to Mr. Biya. They don't have any possibility of having access to him. It's a dream. Except you are talking to somebody who has never been to Yaoundé. Go there now. Let us see how they go 10 meters close to the Unity Palace. What nonsense is that? They should stop fooling people. Mr. Kamto wants to be seen as the person who has brought, as the messiah of Anglophones. When you talk to CRM militants, it's very sorry, it's very, very pathetic. These are people who want to be seen as messiahs of Anglophones, but they deny the Anglophones' identity. They tell you that there has never been any state of Southern Cameroons. Call any of them, they'll tell you. They deny the existence of the state of Southern Cameroon. They want you to be seen as what they think you are. That is an integral part of, an integral absorbed part of the Republic of Cameroon. And they think that the best thing that they can propose is federation. That is an upgrade of the decentralization that they were presenting. Now they have moved to federation. But they don't, you see, they are so short-sighted. Anglophones are where they are today because of federation. In a federation, you have two states, two types of states, the federal state and the federated state. And the federal state has overwhelming powers over the federated states. Look, I keep saying this thing. It is the misuse of those powers by President Ahidjo that enabled him, that led him to looting Southern Cameroon, carrying out everything, and then putting all our developmental projects under the table. You can remember the Mafia Road. How long did the CPD militants themselves sing about the construction of Mafia Road before they constructed it? Now it is Ring Road. Those are roads that were tarred at independence. They abandoned everything, allowed the whole place to decay. No, sir. Once beaten, twice shy. I don't think any normal Anglophone, any right-thinking member of the Anglophone society, of the Southern Cameroon society, we want to go back to federalism. Now, I want to credit Mr. Biya. I want to credit Mr. Biya for recognizing that he has tried, that they have tried to assimilate Anglophone and failed. This is the same Mr. Biya who went to Biya and said, he still will have it, that Biya was the capital of Southern Cameroon. And this man recognizes that there is a Southern Cameroon. When you come now to the draft bill on the family code, which is before the Senate, it is even clearer there in Article 114. To be a Cameroonian, you must be either someone who hails from the Republic of Cameroon or someone who hails from Southern Cameroon. So Mr. Biya is 20-fold better than Mr. Kamto, because Kamto doesn't recognize Southern Cameroon. In fact, our children tried to see him when he went to Canada. He refused to receive them, that they were Ambazonians. I started wondering, people who call themselves Ambazonians, are they not Southern Cameroonians? The flag that these children carry around as Ambazonian flag, is it not Southern Cameroon flag? Look at the flag well, it is Southern Cameroon flag. Ambazonia does not have a flag, it is Southern Cameroon flag. Go back memory lane, you will see it, it is Southern Cameroon flag. So if you refuse to receive your own brothers, how can you now come to champion that cause? This man doesn't know where he's going to. I said it. Any Southern Cameroonian who wants to follow Mr. Kamto is doing so at his own risk and peril, because this man does not, he does not have you at heart. He doesn't. He's trying to use you for political gains.
Yeah, Senior Barrister, my question to you was whether whether they had the force to do what, to unseat the president. But how important is these regional elections to Cameroon? Is it going to actually accomplish the decentralization mission for Cameroon?
This decentralization we are talking about here was put in place since the 1996 constitution.
Yeah, but there is a lot of pressure on the government.
That's about 24. 1996. In the 92, we have multipartism. 4 years after, they come out with the centralization project. And
they came up with the 1996 constitution.
They came up with the 1996 constitution, and in the 1996 constitution, we have the decentralization project. Now, this project is spoken about again about 25 years after. How many elections have taken place? Uncountable. So after this, all these elections that could not influence the lives of Cameroonians, will not do now. If the lives of Cameroonians have not been influenced for over 25 years, no elections will do that until Mr. Biya leaves A2D. Then Cameroonians can start thinking of a change. Because presently, when you ask the barrister, the senior barrister, the question, the power the CRM has, I've been asking myself that same question. But there's a saying that says that if you get up one morning and a fowl start chasing you, you should run, because maybe during the night it develops some teeth. I don't know if that is the case, but what I will say is that when you are calling for an uprising, the strategy, as I said earlier, you must inspire mass participation that cuts across any groups, religious beliefs, class boundaries, and generational groups. Now, if you don't cut across this, and you must also ensure that you attack women empowerment. That means you encourage women empowerment so that women will also be part of it, of that uprising. Now, we have Madame Kawala of the PPA.
CPP.
You mean the CPP? What has she been called in for? Is she for the move? That's the question we should be asking, given that so many women are looking up to that woman. So I think that there are so many things to be done so that an uprising should be successful in this country to ooze out Mr. Biya, as Professor Kamto says. So at this point in time, and I would like to say something concerning what Mr. Kedia said earlier. He said he tells Atanganji, Minister Atanganji, for detailing the law that stands by if you go out to maybe threaten the peace and security of this nation. I think, my brother, time has come when the wind of change is blowing. Nobody can stop it. If you think that all the time we will use violence to hold a people down, it is a poor way of thinking, because I'll tell you, there comes a time when a mosquito lands on your testicles
If you think that you will use violence to chase away that mosquito, you will be the one to cry at the end of the day. Because this same violence that was used in the North and the South for the past 3 years, that has not succeeded. What makes you people think that it will continue to succeed? If Kamto has taken maybe a wrong step, as some of the people think, is violence going to be the solution? No. As much as we say that Cameroon is a violent country,
Kamto is the violent one.
That's your point of view. I don't know from which angle you are standing to say that, but what I'm trying to say is that all we need in this country is a change.
Okay, what we need in Cameroon is a change. Kedia, how do we engage elections in the southwest and northwest regions as we speak? Especially take the case of Amenda.
You see, this is not an election through universal suffrage, or through, it's not a direct election. This is an indirect elections where mayors and chiefs can easily be organized and be given security, because without saying anything, we know that gunshots are still happening that way, to be honest. And this election, if the direct election can take place in 2018, then this one is an indirect election, which I think that maybe the voters even in the northwest should not be more than 500. So I've been talking about 500 or 300, so we should be very honest to say all these things and say the truth, that it is very possible for these elections to take place because it is an indirect elections. Now you see, the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, simply stated the law and interpreted that law. If a panelist sees it as violence, then it seems as if the panelist is not conscious of what the panelist is saying. The law was read and interpreted, and the sanction table out that if this act is done, this is the sanction that awaits you. It's normal. Anywhere, anybody can say that and create this awareness. So everybody that is going out should know that the people, him or her, will meet the law. So we should be honest. And as I say, election will obviously take place and will take place. If some political parties don't want to participate, that's democracy, is their right, they should not participate. But we know the number of political parties we have in Cameroon, and we know those that have already endorsed it. How many members of parliament do we have from different political parties? We know the number of political parties we have at the National Assembly. And if one has says they will not participate and the others are willing to participate, that's democracy. It's okay. And Cameroon will move ahead. Why should we be crying decentralization, decentralization? And the last institution of that decentralization is being put in place, we complain. President Paul Biya is answering the call of the people. Cameroonians went for a grand national dialogue, and that is what they asked. And as a democratic leader, that is what he's accepting. That, okay, fine, this is the people's call. The people want this final phase. And that will happen. Why should people come and use the Anglophone crisis? Because they want to sell their political ideology. This same man that is complaining about the electoral code know more about that the foundation of that electoral code. Why is he complaining now? It was good for him when he was there, and now it becomes a problem for him. We should be honest. He has failed. He should at least try to campaign for this regional election, so that a chief of his political party.
Are you answering my question as to how elections are going to take place?
Okay, with regard to election, I already said it is an indirect election. It's not a direct election. And so the Minister of Territorial Administration has said he will put in place maximum security, and even in his speech yesterday, he earlier went further to say he will give maximum security to the members of Eleka.
Are you very comfortable that people are voting on the security guy? What happens to them after elections?
Security is in everywhere in the world. Where it comes to the day of election, securities are always been put in place. In Africa and any other country, security is being put in place. Whether no crisis or not, all polling stations in the world, securities are always around when it comes to election. So I don't know why we are taking this one for something else. And I earlier said, if we want to go detailing because of the crisis, this is an indirect election. And the minister have said he will give maximum security. He has spoken with the chief. The chief said that is what we want. He has told the chief he will give them. He has told Elekam he will give them maximum security.
Okay, we have just been
now, before I land,
no, you've spoken for so long now.
Please, to be honest, why are we crying? I have not seen any chief come out and say plainly that there is no security.
I have not seen no member of Elecam come up and say,
it doesn't mean I don't exist my border. I have seen.
Tell me what
I was in Bamenda recently and I met you that I spoke with them.
Please tell me one. No, call the name of one. You see?
What should I call the name to expose them?
I have not seen any answer.
Are you not a journalist? What should I call the name to expose them?
Please,
Is that security?
please, Kedia, calm down. Calm down. Yeah. So we have just been joined by Prince Joel, who is in the studio with us. Prince, how do you foresee, though he says it's indirect, but these delegates, divisional delegates or the municipal councillors from the respective divisions, how do you foresee them taking part in these elections? Or we pray that by December maybe things might have changed for the better.
Mr. Leo, elections in Cameroon and specifically in the northwest and the southwest is going to be an uphill task. An uphill task because if we're judging from past occurrences, we could conclude that elections in the northwest and the southwest have never gone hitch-free, like he is saying. We know that there are areas, if you read the communique of the Social Democratic Front, you discover that they said it and it's true, that there are areas where those who are taking part in the votes because of security were assembled. It's like taking people in a whole subdivision to one particular spot.
The whole division.
The whole division. We saw that. We saw it in Mezam. That's the case
in Fako, everybody voted in Limbe.
Correct. Now, that's the first aspect, Mr. Leo. The impact already of elections, even before the elections, is already being felt in the ground. We have heard of a 1-week lockdown that was called in the northwest, and when you look at it detailedly, you will see that the impact. People are dying more. There is a lot of uprising as of now. And the security of those who are going to take part in these elections, we cannot for sure say that the chiefs as well as the municipal councillors who take part in these elections will come out hitch-free. We have seen individuals through videos from the separatists who were tortured just because they were seen with an election card. We've seen persons who have been tortured because they went to vote. And like he was talking about this, an indirect election. This one even makes it easier because those who are saying that they should not go for elections know their target. Their target, they know those who are the municipal councillors and they know the traditional rulers. But the traditional rulers, if they were really secured, like he is trying to put it, they would not have gone to the Minister of Territorial Administration to say, assist us. In 2016, since the crisis started, we saw what happened in 2018 during the presidential elections. We are not ignorant of what happened in this same 2020 in February during the twin elections. We cannot continuously be putting the lives of Cameroonians in danger. The problem in the northwest and the southwest, I've said it on several platforms, and I'm still saying it here, that as of now, the main preoccupation of the common man, if you go to the northwest and southwest and you do a random sampling and you do a vox pop and like ask the people, do you think, what do you want now? Elections? Let us be honest. You will agree that just a very few, and maybe those who are part of the system, who want election. Because a common man has not actually felt the impact of elections. Since 2016 that the crisis started, they've not seen. They have seen parliamentarians who have voted, and the objective of the parliamentarians that they voted was that they should go to parliament and maybe press hard on the Anglophone crisis that Honorable Joseph Weber did. We are months into the parliamentary session. No parliamentarian has echoed the Anglophone crisis in the National Assembly. Another great aspect is the fact that a majority of these municipal councillors who are going to vote, to an extent, they were not legitimately voted by the common man. We should say that. We know very well that there were villages and communities in the northwest and the southwest that had been deserted before the elections. Because before the elections, newspapers carried it, media platforms had it, and we saw a mass exodus from Bamenda and Biya, because when the twin elections were to hold, the separatists had said, lockdown for 2 weeks. Those who could not afford to stay within these areas for 2 weeks had to flee. And given that the electoral code says you can only vote where you registered, a majority of those in the Northwest and the Southwest did not actually vote these municipal councillors who are intent supposed to vote the regional delegates. So you discover that it is a continuity of wrong things.
The continuity of wrong things. Let me take a few messages and then we continue. Let us try Mr. Umar. Mr. Umar, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay. When you say you are going to be boycotting these elections, what fundamentally is changing from your previous situation? What is the guarantee that you are not going to change your mind? Because we know that during the municipal and legislative elections, the SDF said we were not going, but ended up going.
Now you have to make a difference between what the media are saying, or the opinion, or journalists, by all due respect, are saying, and what we are doing.
Okay.
For that moment, our chairman has released a press release and have taken the decision. This decision will not be changed. So that is something that we don't need to discuss on it anymore.
Can you shift a little bit behind? And shift your gadget. Okay, yeah, you're good now. You can go. You can fire on, please.
Okay, so now as for the question that you are asking, what is going to change? The first point is that we are informing the opinion, national and international opinion, that we are not part of that rigging system. So, and that we are trying to again to use the occasion to inform give the regime again the chance to change something. I'm having a difficulty. Really. Yes.
Okay, you are good. You are good now, like that. Okay. Definitely, there is a problem with Mr. Umaru today. Now, I was going to take some messages. Let me get the messages and we continue with our discussions for tonight. This one says, I want to ask Mr. Kedia. Mr. Kedia, there's a question for you. I want to ask Mr. Kedia, where is Roland Moa, who used to, Gideon is writing from Abakwa, that is in Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Please, Leo, I want to ask the Anglophone defending the CPDM, where is he from? Kamto don't have us in heart as well as Paul don't have us in, okay, Paul Biya don't have us. Writing from Gabon. The message is not also very clear. Good evening, Mr. Journalist. I wish to ask this question about the so-called regional elections without portfolio. That how can they organize an elections while SDO and DOs are still there controlling? I don't understand. Good evening, Mr. Leo. I pity Cameroonians who have been against the regime. And Nikki is writing from Tico, and now they are defending that same regime. Everybody has a right to change. Good evening, Mr. Leo and panel. How will the government guarantee the security of the voters after voting? Janet is writing from Biya. Good evening, sir. I want to ask the question to the panelists, particularly to the CPDM. I was born. I have never heard any of them criticize the president. Does it mean that he is the most perfect person in Cameroon? This one is writing from Italy. Good evening to you. You did not give us your name. This one says, greetings to you all. I must say that the barrister and the CPDM supporter are unable to defend their questions. Let them, okay. They should look at the substance and not the chasing the shadow. Peter Chair is writing from Douala. Good evening to you, Chair. Regional elections, yes. What will become of the governors, DOs, and the SDOs? And just a change of name from government delegates to city mayors. Emmanuel is writing from Tico. Good evening to you, Emmanuel. Greetings to all panelists. To the best of my knowledge, I think this is the last straw to please the world and the Northwest Southwest with regards to the National Dialogue resolutions. But I'm surprised with the recent communique. No special House of Chiefs has been created for Northwest and Southwest. Who is fooling who? I'm sure that is contained in the document that defines what is going to happen in the Southwest and Northwest region. He says, greetings to Dr. Nick Ngwanyam. He will get it. He's not here with us today. This one says, Media Prime MRC should not dream to kick out a president by announcing it out, but it should be done secretly. Charles is writing from the United States of America. Greetings, folks. Speaking from empirical evidence, I can fervently and vehemently say we don't have opposition parties in Cameroon. They are so afraid and money-minded with no vision. How can a democratic nation be ruled by one party for about 4 decades? The opposition has failed Cameroonians. Let all the opposition go to South Africa and see what Julius Malema is doing there. Kamto might be right. Fondong writing from the Middle East. Good evening to you, Fondong, Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. When we watch what is happening now with the campaign to oust the President of the Republic against regional elections, we saw a similar campaign to boycott the legislative and municipal elections. The elections still held, and we are seeing live going. Are we also going to witness a replay of that scenario?
Yeah, Mr. Leo, you see, I think people have to understand the legality in all these things, because elections are organized by law, are prescribed by the law. So they are part of the life of the nation. Whether the nation is at war or at peace, these elections, you see, have to be conducted. Now, you know that officially Cameroon has not declared that there is war. Officially, they have not said that there is no state of emergency in southern Cameroon. There's none. So they are considering that things are normal. In fact, when the international community asks them, they say, no, it is an internal problem, we can handle it. But everybody sees that it is not an internal problem, because now that we know the real causes, we know it is not an internal problem. So, is it possible for these elections to be held throughout the country? You know it very well that in the southern Cameroon, it won't be possible. It will not be very easy. There are areas where people might venture to organize elections, but other areas where it will be very, very difficult, if not impossible. In fact, during the council election, you saw the Constitutional Court ruled that elections were not held in certain areas of the northwest region. So, I mean, that is a court that we know has gone a record to say whether anything happens or did not happen. He said no, it happened. But this time they went and said no, there were no elections. So we know very well that there are areas where there will not be elections. But that should not stop elections in other parts of the country where there is no problem. The problem here is that the people who want elections not to be held are putting up very flimsy excuses. They are coming up, they say, okay, there should be no election because until the war in the Anglophone region is ended. They know very well that the government's position on that issue is the military option, that they have to go by arms and win the war. That's the government's position. They know very well that they have nothing to bring the government to change its position on that issue. They know it, but they want to paralyze certain institutions of the state. Let me tell you, the international community, I want to quote the Secretary General of the United Nations, who asked, what happened to the resolutions of the major national dialogue? Why are you not putting in place the special status? I am one of the people who have gone on air to say the special status is an empty bag. It has nothing inside. Now, you don't want them to put in place their special status. How will you prove it's empty or has something inside? Allow them put it. Let them put it in place. We shall all see its emptiness. But you don't want even to allow them to put it in place. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be allowed to run the election. Let them run the elections. If they are going to the area where there is war, they themselves will see that it is not possible to organize good elections in a war zone. But in the other regions, please, these regions need their regional institutions to function. So we should not paralyze the institutions of the state for nothing. Those regional institutions are parts of the state's institutions. So we should leave sentiments apart. The solution that these people are proposing, MRC says the solution is to have a major national dialogue. Another, we have been there before, sir. What difference would that make to organize the same thing? We tell them the solution here is not a major national dialogue. The solution is a union treaty between the two states. They don't want to hear that there's another state. No, there are two states, sir. That is the solution, a union treaty to be battered before an international arbiter. That is the thing. And it is during the course of that union treaty that questions like electoral code will be straightened up, and the country will be given straight instructions after having ironed out the form of the state and other issues.
Okay.
So we should not mix things. We know that going down to the street cannot solve any of those problems. People should be frank. They should tell the truth.
Good evening, Mr. Liu, and the various people on the panel. Kamto should not organize any campaigns because innocent civilians are going to die. Like Barrister said, he should start the protest with his own family and stop deceiving Cameroonians for his own personal interest. This is Banta John, writing from Tambesi. Tambesi is in Bamenda. Good evening to you all in the studio. Mr. Liam Solomon, writing from Bamenda. The decision taken by Mr. Kamto to me is the right one, because if we want a change, then the people in power must be changed. And as patriotic as we are, it will be our civil rights and duty to stand up for that change, because nobody has ever voiced this idea before, because I can't believe that since independence, only one party has been ruling this country. We need change, okay? Naya Tawat in Tico says Cameroonians are like in a den of lions. Where Cameroon government knows that if they stand for human rights, everything concerning the crisis is going to come to an end. Are we going to be voting from the already corrupt leaders? We already know any government that forcefully lead her people is a threat to the people. Good evening. In the studio, these regional elections won't change anything in Cameroon nor complete the decentralization process. It is coming to create jobs and compensate CPDM militants. They can better still organize a concours and recruit regional councillors. Kole Rene is writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Liu. This is no mercy. Please tell Kamto not to waste his time, because we are not ready to give blood to the MRC party. I'm writing from Ndop. Okay, I ask how Ndop is today. You say it's very bad. Courage to you. Good evening, Mr. Leo. Tiemba Serge from Douala. Kamto may have a point, because Cameroon will never change if violence is not taken by force. What will constitute the boycott strategy, or this this Biya must go campaign? What is behind the strategy? Because you guys are in that you're in the clique.
That question, I think I'm not the better person to answer.
You're the Secretary General.
I'm the Secretary General. Before we started this program, I put also, I was explaining some measures that when you are boycotting or taking down people to the streets to ooze out a president, there are certain measures that should be put in place. I don't know if the measures have been put in place or not. If I had information about what you are saying, I think I would tell the viewers the strategies. And not to that, if I had, it would not be a good idea to come on air and tell our strategies to the enemy. Because it's first of all an error to explain it and make it public that we are going to ooze Mr. Biya to an uprising. An uprising is never announced. You take the people by surprise, because by the time you arrange yourself and position yourself very well to shoot a bird, the bird is also positioning itself very well to take off. So by the time you announce the strategies to the enemy also prepares to counter you. They will also strategize. So it was a wrong step from the part of the CRM. I don't know how they will manage to put it back in place, but it was not a good step. Now, talking about the regional elections and insecurity after the vote, we have a situation in the north and the southwest whereby the chiefs are no more in their fonds. The funds rather are no more in their palaces. Majority. You cannot count how many are here in Douala. You cannot count how many have lived the villages and the center town of Bamenda. So many of them. I was in the northwest, and I happened to meet many of them, and we discussed. Some of their palaces have been burned down to ashes by the two fighting camps. So now, if they have to go back to their villages to vote from there, where will they sleep? In those burned palaces? Or how secure will they be? Because the same people who tell us that these chiefs will be secured, when they go to the north and the south, my brother, they wear bulletproof, enter into armor cars, and have heavy security guards behind them.
Yeah, but the funds themselves, the funds and chiefs, they have expressed the wish to want to return to their respective villages.
Who would like to be a stranger in a strange land? There's nobody. Everybody wants to go back home, but the problem now is how secure is the home for you to go back and stay?
Yeah, but when they say we want to go back, I'm sure they have regents, they have traditional councillors who are members of the traditional council who are on ground. So
there are villages where there's nobody, Mr. Okum. We should be sincere with ourselves. Why? There are villages where people have moved away. Now, and then secondly, you will accept with me that there are funds who were suspected of working with the government. Those ones, how are they going to get back? So I think that the best way for the government, because they say that Cameroon is one and indivisible, and they say that North and South is part of Cameroon. I don't see a one and indivisible country where free and fair elections, as they call it, takes place in one part, and the other part is down. So if they want everything to move on well, that the funds, all the funds nationwide should vote, and all the councillors should vote peacefully. They should solve the Anglophone problem. As the senior barrister said earlier, they know what to do. The thing to be done to solve this problem is that the two parties, the two nations, should come to the table, the Southern Cameroon and the Republic of Cameroon, sit, discuss their differences, and look for a way forward. If they're moving,
yeah, but that's not the topic for today. We are talking about the regional elections. The government has made its position very clear yesterday through the voice of the Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, saying very clearly that anybody who dares and knows of the repercussion. What do you make of that stance? Was it very necessary to pass that message?
You see, every society where people are, there is a law that binds them. And anytime a member of government bring out law that bind people is something good, because it is the law, it is our law, and we made the law. So constant reminder of that law so that we should not make a mistake is something good. Some people may see it as threat, some people may see it in a different dimension, but it was just the law that was being read, and those that will go against that will have life imprisonment. So that is what the minister just said, to make it clear so that people should know. When you are going against it, you are going against it. There's freedom to demonstrate, yes, but freedom to demonstrate to remove an elected president, it becomes illegal. There's freedom to demonstrate, but freedom to demonstrate to stand against the constitution, the putting in place of an institution demanded by the constitution. When you go to stand against that, then you are committing a crime. So people should try to understand. Many people come and say it is a freedom to demonstrate. Yes, it is a freedom to demonstrate, to express your view. But when you want to demonstrate against the putting in place of an institution of the constitution, then actually you are actually making a mistake. So we should be honest to tell these people this so that they understand. And that is why the minister simply spoke about the sanction that awaits anybody that goes out, and it is very clear. We are not, it is not something that we are discussing, it is the law. He was just simply reading the law, and we should be aware of the law. I got a senior barrister talking about the special status, that it is empty. You see, when you are given an institution, you grab it and make it to be powerful. If the Grand North, today as we are talking, are also asking for their own special status.
No, you cannot compare the two, my brother. Don't compare.
I am not comparing the two. I am not comparing the two.
I'm not saying that there's no special status. They are comparing the North and South.
I said why are you ignorant what you are debating? I simply said they are asking. Did I say they are legal to ask it? Did I say they are correct to ask it? I simply just said they are asking it. I am not saying the Northwest is equal with the Far North. I didn't say that. I simply said that they are asking for it.
They never had. Is it normal?
They have never had. I have not said they had a state. I simply said they are asking for it. When we are arguing, see, when we are arguing, we should be realistic. I am not saying that we are the same with them. I'm not saying that seeing these two people met form a state, the other people were another state. I'm not saying that. I'm simply just giving out the value of that special status. That if we are saying it's empty, somebody is looking for it. So we should not go back to the debate. Are they equal, or that is another debate, which I'm not part of it.
No,
but I'm simply just saying that a special status has been given, and it is not empty because those in the ground know they realize that there's something in it.
Okay.
And we should be very we should be very mature to know in politics.
My question to you is your reaction.
Explain why the minister said it. So I don't know why.
Okay, yeah, but that was why are you adding another question and answering yourself?
No. I am supposed to tell people to know the truth. I simply just said what senior barrister said. When he said it, you did not stop it.
Okay.
Now I want to say it, you are stopping me. Okay, fine, no problem. Stop me now. Because he said it and I was answering what he said.
I was asking a question that he asked.
Good.
Yeah,
so I was just adding something.
You asked the same question.
I was just adding to it. All right, fine. So when you ask a question, answer the question you have been. I don't say that another panelist said something because I'm being attacked now.
Okay, it's okay. Robert, you've already made your point now. You've explained. Now, what do you make of a boycott for parties that really do not have municipal councillors?
Sure, Mr. Liu, when this aspect of boycotting municipal and legislative elections came up, first interpretation I gave, I said is good. Consciousness is coming. But now, within those who are boycotting, I'll take it progressively. First of all, there's a Cameroon Renaissance movement of Professor Maurice Kamto. You don't leave something that you're not part. You're not thanking me. Don't thank me. I'm independent observer. My job as a journalist is we don't have my name on the right under this journalist. They do not put CPDM or Moderna or SD. So saying that it is true they have taken a laudable initiative. That's the first aspect I said. Now, it is to an extent the impact is not that much. Why? Because they themselves may not actually constitute a worry. Because if they had maybe members in the National Assembly, senators, or maybe they had some councils for the party, it would have had an impact on the ground. That's the first aspect. Now, the Social Democratic Front too is like playing the same game, like they want to do the same thing. When you look at the Social Democratic Front, this is not the first time. That is why a majority of Cameroonians as of now feel that in the days ahead, they may still play the Bafia dance they've been dancing. Because during the municipal and legislative elections, we remember that the Social Democratic Front, via its national chairman, said they will not go in for any elections except certain conditions are put in place. The question we are asking ourselves today as Cameroonians, what has been given to the Northwest and the Southwest? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You look at other political parties, I do not want to minimize their strength, but look at other political parties that are also backing it. I just feel that, Mr. Leo, what they are doing is they want recognition. Because at times, if you're staying somewhere and you've not been noticed, there are people who go to a conference, and maybe when they ask questions you cannot answer, the only way you can cause notice is maybe you can cough or you do something. But the ball
is that how you describe the action of the CRM, that they are just coughing?
No, I said the CRM. That's what I said. I'm talking about the other parties that joined. I've already analyzed that the CRM, to me, it's a party that as of now is creating a lot of impact. That is why at each time, because your question you asked me, Mr. Ali, I want to stay within your question. So that somebody of the CRM doesn't misquote me. Your question to me was, what impact in the regional elections? The impact is, to an extent, will not be there because they don't have a municipal councillor and chiefs who are to take part. We know that chiefs in Cameroon, to an extent, are civil servants because they have a salary. And it will be very difficult for you to bite the finger that fits you. But the CRM is creating an impact because the moment they say we will not go for elections, the next day, the Minister of Territorial Administration takes to the stage. And when you listen to all his speech, Mr. Liu, I took time to listen to Paul Atanganji. When you listen to his speech, he is referring to one person, is Professor Maurice Kamto. Not two people. Because no, sir, there is what we call connotative and denotative perspective. If somebody greets you more than once, you start asking, why is Leo greeting me good morning, good morning, good morning, when he's supposed to greet me good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. But he summarizes all in a day. Okay. In the speech, Mr. Leo, let me make my point. In the speech of Paul Atanganji, there is one, he says, there is a political party whose prisoner I'm coming. There is a political party whose leader was arrested and imprisoned. If you look at it, it is Maurice Kamto. And then later on, these people were released, but their proceedings have not yet been stopped. And that if they feel that because they have been released, they can constitute a nuisance, at any time they do so, they are going to start their cases from zero. Kate, you are of the CPDM. Tell me what they are referring to. Nobody of Modena was sent to prison. No.
Our leader was caught and sent. Was
released too, but yeah, Mr. Leo, let me make my point.
Okay, no, yeah,
let me make my point. So when you look at it all through, even a child in the primary school knows that Paul Atangaji was directing his press outing of yesterday to Professor Maurice Kamto of the Cameroon Renaissance.
Mr. Umaru, if you are there, this question to you, the CRM says that they are going to organize a popular uprising to oust sitting President Paul Biya. You of the Social Democratic Front say you are not going for elections, but you did not indicate what was going to happen. Are you also intending to oust President Paul Biya using a popular uprising?
No, we have not yet decided which type of action we will be doing. In any way, the Social Democratic Front will not automatically follow any other party, will not follow the MRC automatically. We will make our analysis and decide what we are going to do. Since 30 years, the SDF is fighting. We have used different type of action, different type of means. We always try to be Republican, to respect the law, but we respect the law as long as the government, the system itself is faithful, is respecting its own law. So what they are doing every time is to abuse the laws, you know. What they are doing is every time they use it only to only the CPDM, for example, can demonstrate. Only the CPDM can do everything from mock demonstration, go on the street, no problem. But if you try, Honorable Nietzsche did try.
Mr. Umaru,
many times. Yes.
Mr. Umaru, can you on Zoom your camera? Can you? Yeah, it's better now. It's better now. Can you? There is.
Yes, that is why I was asking to join you using the audio from my computer, because it's better. I don't know why I'm having a problem with my mobile.
Can you just go on now? Yeah, good now. Just go on.
Okay. So what I was saying is that the STF will not automatically follow another party. We will not automatically follow, because, as I was said, we are an independent organization. We make our analysis. We decide when, where we are taking action. So for the moment, what we are planning is doing what we are doing since 30 years, is using legal means to fight the system, to warn the system, to educate the people, to show them what has to be done. So we are not saying that we will automatically call for the removal by violence. But I want to say something that's very important, because a lot of people, I'm sorry, I was not able to follow everything that the other panelists have said. But the threats that Atanganaji is making, that is something that we know from this system since 50 years, 60 years. It was like this on the idea. It was like Paul Biya. They are always using the states for the advantage to keep to stay in power. But that does not change the thing that it's an illegitimate system, illegitimate government that we will be fighting. So to answer clearly your question, the Social Democratic Front will not use will not automatically follow what other leaders are saying. We will make our own analysis, our own strategy that we will execute.
Okay, thank you. We are going to continue our discussions with you. We are going to move on to our second topic for tonight, though it still has a bearing on the regional elections, but I wanted us to look at the opposition, whether they could rally around a common cause regarding the regional elections call. Now, we know that the CRM has received the endorsement from the Popular Action Party, from the USDP, from Modena, whose Secretary General is here with us. What is the weight of these parties that are endorsing this move by Professor Maurice Kamto? Because we know that there are some persons that are also considered big players in Cameroon?
Well, a party like PAP is mostly in Biya, in the southwest. It's in Douala, Yaoundé. Its weight is not really felt. The CRM is not heavily represented in the southwest. So if you talk, well, Douala is their base. So in terms of an alliance, I don't see what.
The Modegna is there.
Modegna, I don't know about their. I don't have any.
The USDP is there.
Yes, USDP is also a southwest party. So I think, strategically speaking, they cannot work together. Huh? They can't work together because MRC needs people in the southwest region or northwest region to join the declared allies who have come up. But I don't see them having that support that way. But in this other side, if USDP were to come to Douala to join MRC, their weight is not. It will not be noticeable. I think it is mostly paper support, because in terms of militancy in Douala, MRC has the weight. They don't need any support from the other people in terms of population in Douala. But in the southwest and northwest, I don't think MRC can help any of its allies because they don't have the people there.
Okay, they don't have the people, but do you see the opposition coming around this course?
I will say it clearly, the opposition cannot come around because I am talking as national president of Reform Party. Nobody has approached me. My party has not been approached, and even if I were to be approached, my stand is clear. I don't support illegality. My party will never support illegality. A political party takes power through the ballot box, through legal means. I will not join any movement to unseat a president through the street. Please take note of that. Whether it's in Southern Cameroon or in the Republic of Cameroon, don't count on Ashu for that. I stand by the law. If I'm a political party leader, I have to respect the law, sir. I will not join any person who wants to indulge in any illegal move or illegal activity.
Tamfu Jones, it is true the SDF militant is out there in Belgium, but what do you make of their stance? They say they are boycotting, but they have not called for an outright popular uprising to oust the President of the Republic.
It's their stance, and it's their own strategy. In politics, we are not doing copy and paste. People have the reasons why they take decisions they do take. Because when you look critically, you will realize that from the way go, SDF have never choose the path of violence to take over power. If they were to do that, I think that would have been done in '92. So
they're constant. Their position is constant.
Their position is constant. The Panifu has never thought of taking part through violence, because what is happening now with the CRM party, I think a similar thing happened to SDF in 1992, and Mr. Frunzi did not act the same way Professor Maurice Kamto is acting. So the stance of this SDF is not strange to somebody like me. Now, talking about Modegna, we are present in Douala, we are present in the western region, and we are present in the northwest region and in the southwest region. So if somebody thinks that Modegna has no weight, Modegna has weight. Here am I sitting and I'm from Modegna. And if I have not taken Modegna to Camer so far, it's because of insecurity. Now, when these things will come down to normal, because we are fighting for normalcy to return, when the war will come to an end, I think Modegna will now do grassroots work in the northwest and the southwest region, and the way will be felt. We're not doing politics for positions.
No, I don't think that is part of my reaction was on the SDF's position. I want you to react to them. The SDF says we are boycotting, but for now, like they say, they are strategizing, but not necessarily calling for an outright popular uprising to oust the President of the Republic.
Sure, Mr. Liu, the Social Democratic Front, the SDF, from birth in 1990, many history has it that they won elections in 1992, presidential elections, and many Cameroonians called on the chairman by then and said, we are ready, we are behind you, let us take to the street. The Social Democratic Front did not. I think that from 1992 right to 2020, the Social Democratic Front has never used or believed that violence is a way to take out the president. That is why you find out that through their communique, when you read through the communique from the chairman, you don't find anywhere where they say if the president doesn't comply with what they are saying, they are going to take to the streets. But I think that the president is kept in a tight corner because they are struggling that their idea must seem true. Because the points they brought up are very touching. And this is a party, I think that, Mr. Lew, this is a party first, whose impact will be felt. One, the Social Democratic Front, though a national party, has as a stronghold the Northwest and the Southwest. This party was born in Taruku. We know what happened. People died. That's the first thing. The second aspect is the fact that the Social Democratic Front has parliamentarians, has mayors, has municipal councillors. And some of the parliamentarians of the Social Democratic Front hold top positions in the National Assembly, like Honorable Joshua Osei. Now, if this party, and like people like Nietzsche, we know what Nietzsche, the impact he creates in littoral. Now, if these people are to totally say on the 6th of December 2020 that the regional elections will be taking place, that they will not participate, it is going to have a lot of impact. To an extent, we will say that if the Social Democratic Front does not take part in these elections, to an extent it means it is all CPDM. I'm saying so because we know that the other political parties, to an extent, are like a faction of the CPDM. It is true. It is very honest, Barrister. Well, let's be honest. I'm not talking about yours, Barrister. You don't have a councillor. You have a councillor where? Maybe if you have one beside. You have a mayor where? You have a parliamentarian where?
I'll be running.
You'll be running, but as of now, we're talking about impact. We're talking about impact. If a child, let us be honest, a very rich child will find it very difficult when the father says, I've disowned you. And a child whose parents even struggle to eat, if when the father says, I've disowned you, it's just like you're singing, it's a song. So the impact on the level of the Social Democratic Front is going to be felt in the field. Because this is a party that has at least a councillor in the 10 regions of Cameroon. They have people. It is not because of the last municipal and legislative elections that we know the conditions under which they were held that the SDF came out only with 5 parliamentarians. Yet, they have people, and if they do not take part in the come elections, to an extent, it will be as though the CPDM has organized a one-man show and they've taken home everything that they had organized.
Okay, let me take some few messages. This one says, hello, le MRC ne boycotte pas les régionales, il manifeste contre le régime. He says hello from Italy. Good evening to you, my friend who is always watching from Italy. Please, en quoi Réforme Party qui n'a pas d'élu est plus important que le MRC? Good evening to you, my friend. This one says, good evening to all in the studio. The absence of the so-called opposition political parties in Cameroon like the MRC will have no impact on the organization of the untimely regional elections in Cameroon. Since stop the calls, please. Since they don't even have councillors who are the people to vote in these elections. However, if all the opposition political parties can boycott elections, it will have an impact because the CPDM will certainly organize the elections and with a single party there by belittling democratic values in Cameroon. Young Thomas writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you. This one says, good evening, I'm Ornella writing from Limbe. I'm a secondary school student. From my studies and knowledge, I think Kamto has a point. Because if we need change, our leaders need to be changed as well. Ornella, I've read your message. You say I should read your message. I've read it. You see, another contribution. Kamto is right, but he should use legal means. The president is to be changed, but who is as qualified as Biya? If this view is to be clearly viewed at it's on both sides. Cameroon needs change. If Paul Biya steps down, yes, but will the next president be qualified or be able to carry out this Ornella, good evening to you. You are writing from Limbe. Good evening. This one says, good evening, Mr. Liu. Atanganji promised security to the chiefs only for CPDM to have majority. After the elections, anything that happens to the chiefs or councillors is not their business. I pity those of them who will come out to vote. Frankie Piquet, writing from Kumba. He says, hi to you. And this one says, good evening, Mr. Liu, and all those in the panel. The studio Cameroon is like a football match which is controlled just by the referee. I'm James, writing from United Arab Emirates. Barrister, please, let's leave laws aside. The government has violated the human rights laws. What has happened? Kamto is a lawyer and he knows the law very well. It's a peaceful protest. Let's give him a chance. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Liu. Please tell Mr. Malangfe to be quiet. No, he has it right. This one says, this boy talking about a law that quote like does. Peter Fru, writing from Douala. Mr. Liu, SDF, okay? No. Okay, Robert Malamfe, Pius of Serge Espoir Matumba says they are running for elections. MPCN of the guy of Njome Pinja, Paul Eric Kinge, is running, says they are going for it. Reform Party says they are running for it. It comforts the position of the CPDM.
You see, we are in a democratic country and parties have their right to decide if they are going for an election or not. That's democracy. The issue we are talking here about is when everyone, if you don't want to go, it's democracy, but don't bring violence in. Where our point is where people want to bring violence. And violence really is something bad which our religion, our African culture and our constitution is really against. So we should be honest when we are saying this. Definitely, parties that have representatives, that have elected officials, will definitely go. When you are talking about all those having alliance with Maurice Kamto, you should ask yourself question. You realize that all the parties having alliance with Maurice Kamto are parties of the same mother. They don't have any elected official. So it's by normal that they come together to decide what they want to decide. But when you see political parties that have officials in the field and this election concerns them, they'll always take a stand away. That's why the communicator of the SDF openly said it, that they might not be going, but they are not out for violence. They are not taking that violence stand. So those are the aspects which you see at the level of democratic parties, because these parties, they are democratic, they have been elected by people, they're talking on behalf of people that have voted them, they have representatives, so you get the voice of the people behind them. So we should be very, very honest when we are saying this. So congratulations to those political parties that are out there to accomplish the creation of the final institution of decentralization. So all political parties that are out to ensure that this final institution of decentralization is being put in place, we should congratulate them and applaud to them. Those that don't want to go, it's their democratic right, but we stand against violence. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. It is Martin from the United States of America. Your program is the best. Mr. Liu, Kamto and Madam Kawala are the only ones trying to fight the current regime. Senior Barrister knows that by elections, no party will ever win the current regime. The only solution is the transition government. Simple, the regime in place is evil, and any CPDM member feels bad to be in that falling party. Okay. Martin, good evening to you. Mr. Umaru, are you there with us? Do you think that it is time for the opposition to come together for a common cause in Cameroon?
Again.
Are you with us, Mr. Umaru?
The connection. Yes, I can.
Hello, Mr. Umaru.
Hello.
Yes, you can.
Do you hear me?
Right on, Mr. Umaru.
Can I join?
Yes.
Yes. Can you let me in with my now?
Okay, I was asking you whether you think, like other persons, that this is a time for the opposition to come together. Okay, we have lost him once again.
Now I hear you. Now I hear you loud and clear from my computer.
Now, my question to you is, do you think it is time for the opposition to come together for a common cause in Cameroon?
Yes, that is, I can answer with a triple yes. It is time for the opposition to come together. And that is also what the SDF is been asking for a long time right now. Unfortunately, we lost a lot of occasions. So the answer is clearly yes. Every party, every group of the opposition, but we are meaning the true opposition needs normally to come together to fight the system, because it's a system that we are fighting, and it's a very powerful system, as everyone knows.
It has been a very, very long wish of the Cameroonian people to see a united front take on the ruling CPDM, and it's also been very difficult to find that common front do what Cameroonians are expecting from them. How do you intend to go about it to see into it that a coalition is formed in Cameroon?
So I want maybe to remind you are fully right that it is really difficult, because I want to remind that back in 2004, the SDF with our former General Secretary Tasso Asongani made tremendous effort to get a united front, and it failed. So we know that it's very difficult. What we are going to do is our leadership will try to make the necessary contact. But if it does not work, because also we should not forget that we are running out of time. It's very urgent what's happening in the southwest, northwest, what is happening all over the country. We do not have much time. So we will try the best we can to find partners we can side with to fight the system. If that does not work, we will go on even alone with the fight. So it's difficult in the Cameroonian system, because the one of the main strategy the system is using is always to divide and conquer. They are doing everything they can to divide. They are pushing fake parties, fake peoples. Then you also have other parties from the opposition themselves who sacrifice the common interest for their egoistic own interest. So it's really difficult. It's difficult now, after 30 years, to tell you that is the magical form we can use to have a united front. What we should do is every day try again and again, try to come together, try to fight the system, but learning from the past, learning from the experience of the past, knowing that it's better to not side with some parties than to try to go with them.
Okay. We are going to be coming back to you, Mr. Umaru. The sound is clear. Unfortunately, the video...
Do you have... can I say something, please? Okay. I hope you can go like that, because now I am connected with the audio on my computer, and then with phone you have the camera. So I hope we can keep both connection. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Leo, I want to chip in something from the question you asked him. Is it time for...
The opposition.
Yeah, the opposition. You know, when you look at...
Yeah,
Mr. Leo, when you look at the politics and the political parties in Cameroon, honestly speaking, since 1992, that the impact we saw from the SDF, and in 2018, what we saw with the CRM, it has been difficult to actually have a political party that has proven to be a hard nut to the CPDM. I'm saying so because in 2018, many persons, many Cameroonians, in fact, it was rumored that political parties were coming together to go against the CPDM. If we have one political party in Cameroon to go against the CPDM, it is going to be a bit difficult to win the CPDM. I'll give you two reasons. One, the CPDM owns, if not all the ministers, a majority, because you are appointed and you cannot buy the thing that fits you. That is why during elections, most ministers are the ones who head campaigns in the different communities. That's the first aspect. Secondly, the electoral system in Cameroon. The person who heads elections Cameroon, Eno Abrams Egbe, did not pass a concours to be there. He was appointed by the president of Cameroon. Now, in turn, there are some appointments that are also done within his own jurisdiction. You will not tell me that you are the boss of my media prime and you call me and tell me, Prince, this is the editorial line of my media prime. The day I go against the editorial line, there are two things. You're supposed to fire me. So, having one political party against the CPDM in Cameroon, everything that they're doing, I just observe, it is an impossibility. And before I quit, Mr. Lu, another aspect is the fact that most of these political parties, if not of maybe the SDF or the CRM, a majority of these political parties are not represented nationwide. Cameroon has 360 subdivisions. Cameroon has 54 divisions. When you look at it all, the CPDM is in all the nooks and crannies of Cameroon. There is no area in Cameroon where there is no CPDM militant. There must be one. But then there are political parties that have their strong with. They have certain areas where they are strong. Just like a senior barrister said, like PAP for instance, he made mention of the fact that it is strong in the southwest, which means that even if the PAP were to take away the whole southwest, you see, they still have other divisions. The southwest and the northwest makes 2 of the 10 divisions in Cameroon. It means that when they come down with
regions,
regions. Yeah, the regions. Now, if you come down with the cumulative results at the end of the day, it will be very difficult. The CPDM will keep outsmarting the other political parties. So I think, like he said, the man from Germany of the Social Democratic Front
from Belgium,
thank you. It is time for all the different political parties to come together and let's go against the CPDM. Let us, for the first time in the history of Cameroon, see all political parties against the CPDM. And if the CPDM still wins, then I will propose that political parties should stay away and let what used to happen in Cameroon in 1966 with the one-party system that President Aijo did. Then let us know that there's only one political party in Cameroon, because if it is these political parties I see and the present regime in place with all its mechanisms, it will be very difficult to take away this regime through the ballot box.
Mr. Leo, I think I will have to add something to what he's saying, because concerning this coming together of the political parties of the opposition, when I talk about Modegna, people will tell me Modegna is a mushroom party, it's a small party. But we created Kwasik, and Kwasik embodied many political parties. And through Kwasik, we called for the union of political parties. Not that I told you earlier here that Modegna is not doing politics to gain power only. We can gather people and make sure that there's a change in Cameroon. We suggested that the opposition parties should all come together and send a single candidate in the 2018 presidential elections. We met the SDF, we met the CRM party, we met MUNA and all the other stakeholders. But unfortunately, it seems as if we were late. I don't know how I should classify it, but it did not work. Are you understanding? Because at the given point in time, somebody would think that I am a big fish. Why should a small fish come to give such a proposal and I dare to eat? Meanwhile, if they had looked at Modegna not to be a small party, come together, we sit on a table and we decide either by voting or by whatsoever that we will have chosen this man to take the lead. All of us will fall behind the person, because when I hear my brother Prince talk, he says if PAP has a stronghold in the southwest, and we have SDF that may have its stronghold also in most part of the Cameroon, especially in the northwest. So if the northwest is the opposition, the southwest is opposition. MP is a PM of a senior barrister here has Reform Party RP of senior barrister here has its own stronghold. Modegna has its own stronghold. These strongholds all come all together in unionism. Because we talk about the CPDM being in the most parts of Cameroon, the news and crane news of Cameroon, it is because of the absence of the opposition in those news and crane news. Because there are people that who are vying for change. But what is the means that will carry these opposition parties to those news and crane news so that...
Can I? I'm the orphan here.
No, you are not the orphan. I want you to talk last. Yes, come in.
All right. I heard Mr. Prince talking about the fact that the head of Elecam is being appointed by the president. I also know that it is appointed. Can I talk? Is somebody I know more closer? Okay. At least in Nigeria, the head of INEC is.
You cannot be comparing.
Allow him talk now.
The comparison does not stand in.
No, but let him talk.
Allow him talk.
Massa.
What do you think you know?
I don't know. What do you mean from you, sir? No. Comparing a federal republic.
Oh no.
With La République du Cameroun. The idea is wrong. Allow him talk. Send the wrong ideas.
As I was saying, let someone tell me any country in Africa that would think the head of the election body is not appointed by their president. So we should be honest when we are saying things. If you call it a sell idea, then I want any viewer to tell me any African country that the head of their election body is not appointed by their president. But in Cameroon, it is appointed by our president. It becomes a problem. All countries in Africa, all, whether they are republic, whether they are federal, whether they are unitary, they are appointed by their president. But now, when I say it, somebody will say it's a fake idea. Then give me any election body that is not been the head is not been appointed by the head of the president of that country. So we should be honest. That is the first thing I wanted to correct. When somebody thinks it's a wrong idea, but you should call me one country, then I will say that okay. Secondly,
allow him talk.
Secondly, we should also understand that it's all about selling ideologies when it comes to party, explaining your ideology to attract the viewer, to attract your
the militants, sympathizers, yeah.
And your sympathizers. Now, when you see political parties struggling to have stronghold that, okay, this one is my stronghold, this one is my stronghold, and at the end, political parties become regional parties rather than national parties. That's where also you also find have a problem. You see, the ruling party also in Cameroon has been having alliance when it comes to election, and if opposition
with ministers.
If opposition cannot have an alliance, if oppositions cannot have alliance, then they have themselves to blame. Because when we talk about the G20 and the rest that supported, I don't think that the owners of all these political parties are ministers. But if today you are telling Cameroonians, if today, please, you are telling Cameroonians that the owners of those 20 parties are, see, these are the things that will come.
Where the G20 has been appointed in justice.
G20 has to do with 20 political parties, and those 20
was not appointed after the G20. Argue.
Was he a minister before he joined?
He had that. He was. So what am I saying? So what am I saying? You are talking off, and you think that you are arguing. All I'm saying is that opposition parties are forming alliance. The 20 political parties that formed the alliance for the presidential election 2018, were they having ministers? Were they ministers? Are the owners of the party ministers?
Okay.
So let opposition be responsible to do the same thing.
Okay.
Alliance is being done everywhere in Nigeria. All other countries they do it.
Yes, they should do that. Now, Senior Barrister, what should be that uniting factor for opposition parties to see the need to come together, not necessarily to take power? I'm sure either tomorrow or the day after, I'm going to look at the opposition. Why is the opposition not coming together to form a common front to ask for an end to the ongoing crisis in the Northwest and Southwest region? What is not working amongst these parties? At least you are a president of one of these parties.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. We all know that in Cameroon, there are many parties that are satellite parties of CPDM.
Okay.
That are in that profess to be opposition parties. We all know that. Each time the opposition parties come together for any common venture, those satellite parties will make sure that it splits if they see that it is going to endanger the CPDM. So that is the main reason why it is impossible for political parties of the opposition in Cameroon to come together. Because we have all these satellite parties that are there. They claim to be opposition parties, but when you bring them nearer, they cause an explosion. The second one is that we cannot, Reform Party is no longer ready to follow any person in an unnecessary boycott. You see, today people can stand anywhere and talk trash about Reform Party and say it's a party that has no stronghold. Mr. Leo, you saw the images of the regional Congress of Reform Party in Garoua. You saw them.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, we were in Jamena where we inaugurated our foreign ward, the first foreign ward. Bangui was to follow this last Sunday, but unfortunately the Kusari bridge, the bridge collapsed. Kigali has been lined up after that. Reform Party is doing very, and just wait. At the end of this forthcoming elections, I will hear people who will continue to make noise and say Reform Party has a stronghold. It's a national party. The only party in this country that was created by 1,000 people at the beginning. The only one. We are going to show you that we are not here to be selling groundnuts. We will show you that we are the only party that has the solutions, the real solutions to end the crisis, the problems that are plaguing this country.
Yep,
and we are going to do it solo because there is no need lying. I cannot. Okay, tell me if I have to go join with CRM. Look at their ways. They are going the way of illegality. We cannot go that way. We are law-abiding. We cannot go the illegal way. Now, the other parties that want to be satellite, you want me to come follow CPTM and start drinking sardine oil? I will not, sir. We are doing it solo. We are showing you a demonstration of our force. Go to the east. Go to the east. You will see. We will show you that.
Are these justifications that definitely the opposition cannot work as...
no, Cameroon opposition can never come together. Let's forget it. Never.
Never.
We can never come together. Forget
Never be
it.
so good with senior
I am telling you, we can never come together.
I think I will have to differ a bit with
Yes,
the
never
senior
will not be so
barrister.
good.
When you are a party president, you can differ with me. But I'm talking as a party president. I'm telling you that we can never come together for a very simple reason. Now look, CRM would have been that force that would have tried to bring the.
Those are the ideas.
You see, it would have been that force. But you see, we look at when they come now, they don't have a plan of action that is unifying, and their methodology is not unifying as well.
Okay,
Reform Party can do that.
And that is my question. What is a unifying factor to bring the opposition together for a common cause? But is this issue not also rendered more difficult because people are not sure of what they get after working together and taking part? Let's take, for example, the campaign now is to oust the President of the Republic. Once you oust the President of the Republic, it means you want to take part. People are not too sure.
Power sharing. Now, I said earlier here, I think I've mentioned that twice already, that Modegna is not a power-hungry party. Modegna is a party for change.
Then you are endorsing this. What is
what we endorse, it means that no matter who of the opposition that will take power and change Cameroon and make it an El Dorado, of which it is, we are behind that person. So when barrister thinks, the senior barrister, sorry for that, sir, when senior barrister thinks that it is impossible for opposition parties to come together, I differ with him. Why? Because if we know that as he says, there are satellite political parties that are working for the system, all of us know that is true. But if we can identify these satellite parties, take them off, and let the real opposition parties come together, put their energies together, and see how they will find the common enemy.
For so long, let me bring you back. Tamfu, we have observed the political scene in Cameroon for over 30 years now. We know those who call themselves the presidential majority. I'm sure these are the satellite parties. They consistently have backed the government. Now, 30 years, is it not time enough to identify who is fake and who is real and then push for?
I think barrister made mention, senior barrister, made mention of satellite parties.
Yeah.
They are not difficult to be identified.
Yeah, so what's
I'm telling you that Modegna through Kwasik wanted to unify these parties. But some of them thought that because of the initiative it's coming from Modegna, which they believe is small, they should not buy the idea.
Is that not where the problem is? Because
that's where the problem is, because there's
of Cameroon will say we want a coalition from our perspective. You want a coalition from the the says they can.
Mr. Kum.
Yes.
Moderna had no perspective. Moderna said, come together. Let's think a way forward together as one person. But by the time you start saying that I want a coalition and I have to be the leader of that coalition, then what type of coalition do you want? If you want a coalition, leave the floor. When we come in the coalition, we decide who will lead the coalition. And when we start thinking of power sharing, and we are going to take out a party because of clientelism, because they share jobs to people because of what you have done, as my brother was saying here earlier about appointments. Now, if you are fighting the same government system and you are going in with the same mentality of sharing power after taking it, what does that mean? I think that we should fight for the change of this nation and not the change of our stomachs and our social statuses. So, Moderna is out for change and not for taking a leading position or whatsoever. If we line up behind the CRM party, because that is a party that was showing hope of bringing change, so we want behind them to support them so that the change can come to it. Because through Moderna, the change might not come so.
Was showing hope. Are they no longer showing hope?
Mr. Kum Leonard, I am telling you of the reason why Moderna chose it, and I'm using the past participle because it was in the past. Moderna is still inside, which means that up till now Moderna is still with the CRM, which means that up till now,
yes,
the party that is showing a majority is the CRM party.
Okay, yeah, and yes, there's no gainsaying about that, because the CRM came second after the last presidential election. So as we speak, Maurice Kamto has a very strong following in Cameroon. But my question to you is, how involved in is the civil society in this whole call for a coalition to oust the President of the Republic? Do you find the civil society heavily implicated in this move?
Actually, I don't, because I don't know any major civil society that have come out to endorse that people should go to the street to unseat a legally elected president. I've not seen any of them. I don't know of any of them which have come out to say so. So you still go back, our civil society, they are very Republican and they believe in what is right and they stand by the law. So they have not come out to say anything. Sorry, to go back to the other issue of opposition party coming together. You see, during the last presidential election, you have the present honorable, the one of the youngest parliamentarian, Cabral Libi. He's the one that said that let all opposition come together and they do their lobbying who will represent. He proposed. Still there in the opposition, we saw Akere Muna.
Without a political party, you should know that.
Akere Muna came and backed Maurice Kamto among those parties that went for election. Why did those parties that were there, all of them, not do their coalition and face what they can face? No. Are we saying that all those parties that were there are satellite parties, if actually they are satellite parties? You see, alliance goes with vision of a political party. Is it a socialist party? Is it an extreme party? All those things have been put in place. Parties don't just go together because they want to go together and move. No. So party, they go for an alliance based on their ideology. If their ideologies are moving together, fine. And I've realized that most political parties, they don't have ideologies to sell. They don't have projects to sell. Everything you ask them, will remove the president, that's what they say. So we should be honest to say all this. So we are saying is that the problem is not even an alliance or for opposition. The problem is about a political party selling your views to Cameroonians. Cameroonians are intellectuals, they go, they vote, and they know they are right. So Cameroonians are there, They know what they are doing. Just sell your ideology and you'll be voted. The President of the Republic is selling his ideology and he's been voted.
Okay.
So everybody should sell his ideology to get votes.
Okay, since we are looking at a coalition for a call, a national call, we're asking whether the opposition can come together. My question to you is, revolutions that we have seen in history, are they organized by political parties or they are spontaneous from the civil society?
Sure, Mr. Leo, I thank you very much for that question. When I saw on social media that the MRC slated even a date, I don't know, they proposed for the date 22 September, and there are banners to say, I will go down to the streets.
The other party.
Yeah, I think that revolutions often come as a thing of mistake, spontaneous. I'll give you a very simple example. When you read Animal Farm by George Orwell, after the animals had met with all major who had prepared their mind in a sacred meeting, the animals, one day just because of food that they are not eating because Jones had got himself drunk and was sleeping, the animals just unconsciously, they broke into the storehouse and each animal was feeding. And when Jones came, they were like struggling to feed and they were sending away Mr. Jones. So when you look at this simple example, because the idea behind that book by George Orwell is to show how people rally against a totalitarian government. You don't set a date when you want to oust somebody. When you set the date, that is why the minister came out yesterday and was already telling them. And the minister's concluding statement is this: anyone who goes close to a beehive should be ready to get stings from the bee. Now when you look at it, it means that you have already prepared your opposition. And the opposition is already aware of when to attack you. Because if you look at it, what is ongoing? Listen, today, there is another communique that has come up that keep Amanda clean. You don't know the purpose of that. It could still be a follow-up already of, it could still be a strategy. That's another aspect. Look and take another aspect. I'll give you another novel. Read Julius Caesar. When Cassius tells Brutus that instead of us attacking Mark Antony and the others, let us rather wait. Let Mark Antony and the others come to attack us. Because in the process of coming, they'll be losing energy and resources too. But Brutus says, let us attack. So the strategy of the CRM, I may not be in a better position to judge why they did so, because I don't belong in the house. But I think that when we want to talk about revolution, in most countries, revolutions have never been successful under a condition where you already tell this person, I am coming. Let me give you another example, Mr. Leo. Look at when Maurice Kamto came back from his tour in Europe, here at Grand. If you look at the number of Cameroonians who came out, a president who wants to take over power, that was an example. Because the crowd I saw here at Grand, that crowd sent even 10 trucks or even 50 trucks, you will not have been able to stop them. But when you tell your opponent, I am coming this day, wait for me, I don't know the strategy he's having, because those of the CRM always say send strategy. I don't know the strategy he has, but I want to feel that in the aspects of revolution, it wasn't actually too good.
Mr. Umaru, we are almost wrapping up with the program today. What is the next step of the Social Democratic Front? Wait for the government to react before swinging into action?
Please, can you ask the question again, please?
What is going to be the next move of the Social Democratic Front? You've posed your conditions. You wait for the government to react before knowing what to do, or you are already working on the next step to take?
It is obvious. Obviously, we are not going to say that is what we are going to do, because in the situation in which the Cameroon is right now, I think one of the worst things you can do is to warn the regime, to tell the regime that that is the strategy that I'm going to do. So, as I have already said, we have analyzed the situation we have a strategy. We are still working on it, but we also know the action that we will be taking. The only thing we can say that is that for the moment, the SDF is not intending to go, let's say, to go in a revolution or a revolution organized by other people. So everything that we are going to do from our own analysis, as I've already said. So we will not be telling what we are going to do. I trust my leadership in Cameroon. I trust the chairman. I trust Honorable Osei Nietzsche that they have and they know what we are going to do.
But are you also open to engaging other political platforms for a common action?
Exactly. That is clear. That is clear. We are open to all solutions. What we are not going to do is to work together with any part of those thousands and one satellite parties of the CPDM, and that's also the difficulty. And also, if you allow me to add something or to remind something, I said the SDF is not intending to go, let's say, in a violent revolution, but the only option, basically, that the system is allowing and offering, the only choice that normally opposition in Cameroon basic has is to go against the law, because the law is the CPDM and the Biya system is using it, whether military, whether using the police, whether using the DOs, the subdivisional officers, whether using a LECAM. Every time you turn, they have managed to hijack the whole system. So basically, there is no chance. If you say that you want to be honest, you want to be everything, you want to do everything by book, you have less chances. So we are not going to tell openly what we are going to do. Our leadership has already a plan, but they are also working to find it, to adapt it to the realities, to the current realities. And clearly the SDF is ready and open to work together with every party that is working for true change, for genuine change.
Okay, we are very grateful for your participation in this program today, Mr. Umaru. We hope to be having you very shortly in subsequent editions.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the technical issue that I have, because it's really the first time that I'm facing it. So the next time, maybe I will take other dispositions to avoid it. Thank you, and good luck to Cameroon.
Thank you very much. That was the SDF representative for this edition of the program, all the way from Belgium, Mr. Umaru. We are going to call it quit here. I will say thank you to you for coming to the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure
To be here.
Okay, and also to you.
It's always a privilege being on board, Mr. Leo. We used to say that everybody mustn't be a politician. Some of us, we chose a microphone. Take it or leave it. Napoleon Bonaparte said that he prefers to meet 1,000 army than to stand in front of one journalist.
We also want to say thank you to you, Senior Barrister, for coming today.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. I call on Cameroonians to be very careful. The solution to the Anglophone crisis and to the electoral code will come only through the resolution of the Anglophone crisis through internationally supervised negotiations between the two states.
Okay.
Nobody should fool any person down there that going to the streets will unseat a president who is living in a bunker. Okay. Don't fool yourselves.
Also,
don't die for nothing.
Thamfu Jones, thank you for coming.
It's always a pleasure, Mr. Leo. I'm always open if we are to come here to chip in ideas that will contribute to nation building.
Okay, I plead with my producer. Give me just some few minutes to read the messages. There are just so many. CPDM is everywhere because it is forced on the people by the administration, that is governors, police, gendarmerie, courts, treasurers, state companies, village chiefs, quarter heads. Good evening to you. This one says, good evening, Mr. Liu, Senior Barrister, and all the panelists. Opposition parties can come together even with differences. I think a barrister is okay. You may not want to share. We don't dialogue if we have the same ideas. This election is uncalled for in the first place. Ndikum Atusi is writing from Boya. This one says, greetings to all panelists. CPDM and SDF have failed the Cameroonians. Kamto's idea is fabulous because the kingdom of God suffers violence, but only the violent take it by force. Total John is writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. Liu. I wish to say Mr. Robert is not knowledgeable as far as history of Cameroon is concerned. He should learn from senior barrister Ashu. Mr. Ashu, you are okay. Njok is writing from Yaoundé. Good evening in the studio. Senior barrister speaks as if his own party is one. It's one of the big parties. Good evening, Mr. Liu, all those in the panel. Okay. I'm Mr. Ama Bless writing from Newtown, Barombi, Southwest regions. This one says opposition parties fight for the opposition position rather than changing things. By Bobo from Yaoundé. I will not be able to read all the messages. I'll just read one line. The messages are so many. Mr. Liu, please, my message was not read well. Nikki from Tico. Nikki, I cannot read long messages. I cannot read everything. Good evening to you guys in the studio. I'm Jude writing from Bamenda. Mr. Prince, I disagree with you on the coalition of all opposition political parties because it won't work, okay? Ngupol Ngong from Kumba says, I'm Ngupol Ngong from Akalek Street, Kumba. Mr. Liu, why is it that once you become a CPDM, you can hardly denounce any wrong move by the government? Okay, I'm yet to see a CRM militants who also disapprove of the moves of Professor Maurice Kamto, or an SDF militant who openly disapproves of. Yeah, but not many of them. Most of them will say Maurice Kamto is le stratège. The SDF guys will also say Frundi is all knowing, and a host of others. So yes, I'm sure that senior barrister, who is the national president of his party, I don't know which of his members will say what he's doing is wrong. So everybody, they say the monkey brags about is what, something like that. Everybody is struggling to paint their parties white. We want to thank you all who took time off to follow the program, the production team. Thank you to you, Desmond, Paul, and to you, Eli, who is producing the show, and to you, Tabby Tambe Bryant, who is supervising our work. Special greetings to you, Anderson Ali, watching us all the way from the United States of America. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.